The galaxy was quiet, but not in the way of peace. Quiet in the sense that all eyes turned toward the floating palace above the blue and purple clouds of the planet Elysira. Its towers glinted like crystal under the light of 3 suns, and the halls inside echoed with the whispers of dignitaries from dozens of star systems. Ships of all shapes and sizes hovered outside, their crews waiting anxiously for the event of the century, the reception hosted by Princess Xiara of the Elysirian Empire. For Kael, the young human warrior, the palace seemed overwhelming. He had never seen architecture like this. Massive, transparent floors that looked down onto the swirling clouds below, walls carved with symbols that pulsed softly with energy, and ceilings that seemed to stretch into infinity. He adjusted the simple uniform of the human delegation, feeling out of place next to the gleaming silver armor and flowing robes of alien dignitaries. "Kael, stay calm," whispered Lieutenant Mira, his senior officer. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were sharp. "Do not underestimate the princess. She is cunning. She enjoys testing more than she does welcoming." Kyle nodded, swallowing his nervousness. He could feel the weight of the delegation on his shoulders. Humans were known across the galaxy for their unpredictability, their stubborn courage, and sometimes their foolish bravery, but in the halls of Elysira, that reputation was treated as a joke. The doors of the main hall opened and all heads turned. Princess Xiara entered. Her presence was magnetic, impossible to ignore. She was taller than most humans, with skin that shimmered like the surface of a calm lake under sunlight. Her eyes were sharp, amber with flecks of gold, and her hair floated around her as if caught in some invisible wind. Every movement was deliberate, every glance measured. "Welcome, representatives of Earth," she said in a voice that was soft but carried across the hall. "We have heard interesting things about your species. Courageous, perhaps. Determined, yes. But clever? That remains to be seen." There was a ripple of polite laughter from the assembled aliens. Kael's stomach tightened. Even from this distance he could feel the subtle mockery in her words. The princess continued, scanning the humans with amusement, as if they were nothing more than small insects trying to crawl across a vast garden. "Humans," Xiara said, her smile sharp. "You claim bravery. You speak of your feats among the stars. Yet here you are, entering a world where your strongest weapons mean nothing. Your courage will be tested." Kyle felt a spark of anger, but he knew better than to let it show. He straightened his back and took a slow, steady breath. Humans might be underestimated, but they were rarely defeated in spirit. The hall's central platform began to glow, and a holographic display rose into the air. It showed a map of the surrounding stars, with simulations of dangerous cosmic phenomena, asteroid fields, energy storms, and gravity wells that could swallow ships whole. "This," Xiara said, pointing at the holograms, "is where courage meets reality. Many have come before you. Most have failed." Kael's eyes narrowed. He could see the fear in some of the other delegates' faces. The aliens had centuries of experience with such challenges. Humans had only recently begun venturing beyond Earth's solar system. Yet Kael felt a quiet determination building inside him. He would not be mocked. He would show that human courage was not loud or flashy. It was steadfast and clever. The first part of the event involved introductions, and the aliens wasted no time showing their superiority. One delegate after another displayed feats of skill, telekinetic manipulation, speed that seemed impossible, precision that could only be described as perfect. The human delegation, with their relatively primitive technology, looked small and slow. Kael, however, noticed something. While the aliens relied on raw skill or power, they seemed rigid, predictable, and he knew that was humanity's strength, the ability to improvise. He could see a plan forming in his mind. After the introductions, the princess leaned closer to the assembly, her gaze cutting to Kael for just a moment longer than the others. "Tell me, human," she said, her voice silk and steel, "what makes you think your species has what it takes to survive here?" Kael held her gaze. "Because humans don't give up," he said calmly. "Even when we face the impossible, we keep moving forward. That is courage." A few murmurs ran through the hall. Some aliens whispered among themselves, others looked skeptical. The princess tilted her head, a faint smile curling on her lips. "Bold words," she said, "but words alone do not prove anything. Courage must be shown, and tonight you will have your chance." The announcement that followed shocked the human delegation. They were to participate in a demonstration, a simulation designed to test reaction, courage, and strategic thinking. While not lethal, the simulation was infamous for exposing the weaknesses of other species. The stories were whispered in galactic forums, competitors frozen in fear, technology failing spectacularly, plans collapsing in moments. Kyle felt his pulse quicken. This was the moment to prove her wrong, but he also knew the challenge would not be easy. Every detail would matter. Observation, creativity, and quick thinking would be essential. That night, Kyle walked the palace corridors, his mind replaying every step of the upcoming trial. He passed through gardens that floated in mid-air, pools of water that reflected constellations from distant galaxies, and corridors lined with statues that seemed to watch him as he passed. Every corner reminded him of the scale of the challenge ahead, and yet it also reminded him of human potential. "Kyle," Mara said softly, walking beside him, "remember what I told you. This is more than a test of strength. It is a test of spirit. Keep calm, think clearly, and trust yourself." Kyle nodded. "I know. I won't let them." He stopped, realizing he did not need to complete the sentence. He understood. Not just the aliens, but the galaxy itself doubted humans. That doubt was a challenge, but also an opportunity. The next morning, the hall was filled with tension. Delegates from multiple systems waited for the trials to begin. The humans stood in the back, their faces determined despite the unease in their hearts. Princess Yara appeared on the platform, radiant as ever. "Let the trials begin," she said, and with a gesture the first simulation started. Kale's heart pounded. The simulation unfolded in a holographic storm of asteroids, shifting landscapes, and unpredictable hazards. While many alien delegates hesitated, Kale stepped forward. His mind raced, analyzing patterns, anticipating movements, and calculating risks. Step by step, he navigated the simulation with a mix of precision and daring creativity. The princess watched, her amusement slowly turning to intrigue. For the first time, she realized that human courage was unlike anything she had seen. It was not about strength or perfection or superiority. It was about facing the unknown with determination, using intelligence, adaptability, and heart to overcome every obstacle. Kyle did not yet know if he would succeed completely, but he had already begun to prove her wrong. And that realization, small, quiet but unmistakable, would mark the beginning of something extraordinary. The morning sun, or rather the three suns of Elisera, cast long, shimmering shadows across the trial grounds. The humans and other delegations assembled on a platform floating above a crystalline canyon, its depths swirling with glowing mist. The air vibrated with energy, a reminder that this was not a natural place but one shaped and controlled by the Eliserians. Kale adjusted his stance, glancing around at the other competitors. Aliens of every size, shape, and ability loomed around him. Some radiated confidence, their eyes gleaming with the certainty of superiority. Others, like the humans, bore quiet tension, knowing the odds were stacked heavily against them. Princess Yara appeared on a raised platform, her presence commanding silence. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, swept over the crowd. "Today," she said, "you will demonstrate not just skill but courage. The trials ahead will test your mind, your body, and your spirit. Fail, and you will learn humility. Succeed, and, well, perhaps there is some hope for your species after all." Kale clenched his fists, his heart steady. Her words stung, but they also ignited a spark inside him. Hope for his species. That was all the fuel he needed. The first trial was revealed in a holographic projection above the platform. The ground beneath them shifted into a complex maze, walls rising and falling at random. Energy barriers flashed intermittently, creating narrow paths that required perfect timing. Floating platforms appeared and disappeared, forcing competitors to leap at the right moment or fall into the glowing mist below. The aliens advanced with graceful precision. Many used telekinetic abilities or technological enhancements to navigate the maze effortlessly. Humans, with no such advantages, looked small and unprepared. But Kale's eyes were alive with calculation. He studied the patterns of the shifting walls, the rhythm of the floating platforms, and the timing of the energy barriers. "Watch for the pattern, not the walls," Mara whispered, standing beside him. "Timing is key. You don't have to be the strongest, just the cleverest." Kale nodded. Strength alone would not win here. Humans had always excelled at solving problems that seemed impossible to others. He stepped forward, moving carefully, observing each platform, each barrier. His steps were deliberate, calculated, yet flexible, ready to adapt if anything changed. One alien competitor, a tall creature with limbs like flowing ribbons, laughed as it leaped effortlessly across a set of platforms. Its confidence was palpable. Kale's pulse quickened, not from fear, but from determination. He could do this. Humans were not just brave. They were inventive. When he reached a section of the maze where the platforms shifted rapidly, Kale paused. The others leapt recklessly, many falling into the glowing mist. He studied the pattern for a heartbeat, then used a sequence of small, precise jumps, landing just as the platforms aligned. Every move required focus, every step demanded courage and calculation. Princess Ciara watched from above, her amusement slowly fading. She had expected humans to falter immediately, yet here was one moving with intelligence and composure. As Kale advanced, he encountered a section where floating platforms rotated unpredictably, making it nearly impossible to land without slipping. Many competitors panicked, their fear causing missteps. Kale took a deep breath, scanning the rotation. Then, using a combination of momentum and timing, he leapt from one platform to another, landing securely each time. He had not relied on brute force or alien abilities, only observation, patience, and courage. When he reached the center of the maze, he paused to catch his breath. His chest heaved slightly, but his mind remained sharp. This was more than a test of agility. It was a test of resolve. The maze itself seemed designed to provoke fear, but Kale refused to give it power. Every obstacle was a puzzle, and he was determined to solve it. The other humans watched from the sidelines, their anxiety slowly giving way to admiration. Kale's progress was proof that courage was more than a word. It was action, persistence, and clarity under pressure. The second trial began shortly after. This time, competitors faced a holographic simulation of a collapsing asteroid field. Rocks of all sizes hurtled toward them at impossible speeds, and the challenge was to navigate the field while retrieving floating energy orbs. Many alien species relied on brute speed, plowing through obstacles without thought. Kale, however, remembered a lesson from Earth. Sometimes the best way to overcome chaos is to work with it. He studied the asteroid patterns, noting their rotation, speed, and trajectory. Instead of trying to rush through, he moved methodically, predicting where each rock would be. When a massive boulder barreled toward him, he sidestepped with perfect timing, reaching an energy orb just as it floated within reach. Other competitors crashed or froze, but Kale's careful strategy allowed him to succeed where others struggled. Princess Ciara leaned closer to her advisors. "Interesting," she murmured. "The human adapts. He does not rely on power. His courage is unexpected." Kale noticed her glance but did not falter. This trial was not about her recognition. It was about survival, precision, and ingenuity. He used every skill he had learned on Earth: observation, calculation, and calm decision-making under pressure. When he reached the final orb, he grabbed it with a steady hand, completing the simulation flawlessly. The crowd murmured. Some aliens whispered, "He is clever," while others shook their heads in disbelief. Kale's own delegation smiled quietly. This was the moment they had hoped for, proof that humans were more than what the galaxy assumed. The third trial was psychological. Competitors were placed in a simulation where illusions tested their fears and insecurities. They saw visions of failure, of falling endlessly, of letting down their teams. Many aliens panicked, unable to distinguish reality from illusion. Kale's mind raced, but he remembered a principle taught to all human warriors. Control your mind. Control your fear. He closed his eyes briefly, grounding himself, reminding himself that these images were not real. Then he stepped forward, moving through the illusions with steady determination. When the visions of falling or failure attempted to overwhelm him, he focused on his goal: completing the trial for his people, proving human courage. Other competitors faltered. Some tried to fight the illusions with force, which only made them stronger. Kale's approach, calm observation and steady action, allowed him to move freely. He collected the holographic symbols scattered throughout the simulation, finishing the trial without hesitation. By the end of the day, Kale had completed all three trials with a mix of strategy, adaptability, and fearlessness. The princess watched silently, her previous amusement replaced by something closer to admiration. Humans, she realized, did not fight like other species. Their courage was not obvious. It was quiet, relentless, and unpredictable. When the trials ended, Kyle returned to his delegation. His chest was still racing, his palms sweaty, but his mind was clear. "We did it," he said quietly, not boasting, only acknowledging the truth. "We survived. And we proved something important today." Lieutenant Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, Kale. You showed them that human courage is different. It is not just strength or skill, it is heart, ingenuity, and determination." The humans celebrated quietly. The aliens watched, some with skepticism, some with a newfound respect. Princess Ziara remained on her platform, her amber eyes thoughtful. For the first time, she considered that humans might be a species to watch, not laugh at. That night, as the sun set and the floating palace glowed softly, Kyle walked the corridors alone. He reflected on the day, on the challenges, and on the princess's reaction. The road ahead would be even harder, he knew that. The remaining trials were more dangerous, more complex, and more unpredictable, but for the first time he felt a quiet confidence. Humans could do this. He could do this. The trials had tested his body, his mind, and his spirit, and he had passed. But the most important lesson was this. Courage was not about being the strongest. It was about facing the unknown with clarity, heart, and determination. And with that courage, humans could achieve what others thought impossible. Princess Ziara, alone in her chamber, gazed at a holographic map of the trials. She had underestimated the humans. One young warrior had begun to change her perception. She had mocked their courage, but now quietly, she admitted to herself that perhaps human courage was extraordinary, and Kale, unaware of her thoughts, prepared for what was to come. The next trials would push him further than he had ever gone. But he was ready. Human courage, he realized, was not just about surviving, it was about rising. Even when the galaxy expected failure. The challenge had only begun, but the human warrior had already proven one undeniable truth. Sometimes, courage alone was enough to astonish the universe. The sky above Elysera was a swirl of colors, a mixture of violet and gold, as if the heavens themselves were preparing for what was about to unfold. The floating platform where the trials had taken place now extended over a vast void, filled with glowing clouds, swirling energy, and unpredictable currents of light. This was the final challenge, the ultimate test. It was a simulation designed not only to test skill and intelligence, but to measure true courage, the kind that came from the heart. Kyle stood at the edge of the platform, looking down into the swirling void below. The winds of energy buffeted him slightly, but he planted his feet firmly. Around him, competitors from other species had already begun. Some hesitated, their uncertainty making the currents of energy seem more dangerous than they were. Others charged forward recklessly, relying on their speed and strength, and many of them were immediately swept away by the unpredictable forces of the simulation. Princess Ziara appeared on her platform above, radiant and focused. Her amber eyes scanned the field, studying every move. There was no longer the amusement in her expression, only curiosity. She had seen Kale's ingenuity in the previous trials, but this trial would push him further than anything before. "Let the final trial begin," she announced, her voice carrying effortlessly across the void. The simulation unfolded like a living storm. Massive floating platforms rotated, twisted, and disappeared entirely. Streams of energy surged unpredictably, forming walls or pathways depending on their chaotic flow. Holographic creatures, creations of pure light and thought, roamed the platforms, ready to test reflexes and decision-making. The goal was simple in theory: cross the expanse and retrieve a glowing core of energy that floated at the center of the void. But the complexity was extraordinary. One wrong step could send a competitor tumbling into the abyss, and the simulation punished hesitation as harshly as miscalculation. Kale took a deep breath and stepped forward. He had survived the previous trials by relying on observation, timing, and courage, but this was different. The scale was larger, the dangers more unpredictable. He reminded himself of the human strength he carried: adaptability. Fear was not an enemy, it was a guide. If he respected it without being ruled by it, he could act decisively. The first few steps were careful. Kale moved across the initial platforms, observing their rotation, noting the flow of energy currents. An alien competitor rushed past him, leaping with confidence, only to be caught in a sudden surge and thrown backward. Kale's eyes narrowed. Strength alone would not succeed here. Patience, observation, and clever action were essential. A wide gap opened before him with a series of small, rotating platforms suspended over a swirling energy river. Kale studied the sequence. The platforms rotated in a rhythm that almost seemed random, but patterns emerged if he paid close attention. Timing his leaps perfectly, he moved across one step at a time, landing each time with precision. Behind him, other competitors faltered. Some were arrogant, relying on power and brute speed, while others were frozen by fear. Kale's calm determination allowed him to advance steadily, gaining an advantage. With each step, he felt the familiar rush of human courage, not loud or flashy, but unyielding. Suddenly, a holographic creature appeared on one of the rotating platforms ahead. It was a shimmering being of energy, its movements erratic and unpredictable. Competitors before him froze, unsure how to proceed. Kale paused for a heartbeat, studying the creature. Its movements were chaotic, but there was a pattern, subtle though it was. He leapt forward with confidence, timing his jump just as the creature shifted away, landing safely on the next platform. Princess Ziara's eyes widened slightly. She had expected him to hesitate or make a mistake. Instead, he adapted. He had learned something the aliens often overlooked. Humans did not rely on power alone. They could observe, calculate, and act with heart. The next section of the trial was even more treacherous. A bridge of pure light extended across the void, but it was unstable, cracking and flickering underfoot. Energy streams surged unpredictably along the bridge, threatening to sweep away anyone who moved too quickly or too slowly. Kale's mind raced, calculating each step, each adjustment. He remembered the lessons of the asteroid field simulation. Move with the flow, anticipate the shifts, and act decisively. Halfway across, a sudden surge of energy struck the bridge. Kale's foot slipped, and for a moment it seemed as though he would be thrown into the void, but he adjusted instantly, using his momentum to land safely on a stable section. The other competitors were not so lucky. Some screamed in frustration or fear, while others froze, paralyzed by the chaos. Kale pressed on, his heart steady, his mind sharp. Finally, he reached the last segment before the core of energy. The platforms here were small, barely wider than a human foot, rotating rapidly above the void. Holographic creatures now swarmed in unpredictable patterns. Many competitors attempted to rush, but they were thrown off balance. Kyle paused, breathing steadily. Fear whispered at the edges of his mind, but he ignored it. This was not about speed. It was about precision, courage, and clarity. He observed the creature's movements, noting the subtle cues that revealed their next shifts. Then, step by step, he moved across the small platforms, timing each leap perfectly. His focus never wavered. The other competitors were falling behind or being eliminated by the simulation, but Kale advanced with determination and skill. Finally, he reached the glowing core of energy. It hovered above a small platform, spinning slowly, pulsing with radiant light. He reached out and grasped it firmly. The void below roared with energy, but Kale held steady. He had done it. He had crossed the expanse, navigated the chaos, and retrieved the prize. A silence fell over the trial grounds. The remaining competitors watched in awe. The human had done what they could not, what many aliens had failed to accomplish. Kale's courage, combined with intelligence and adaptability, had overcome impossible odds. Princess Yara stepped forward, her usual composure replaced by genuine admiration. She had seen many species compete in her trials, but she had never witnessed anything like this. Humans, she realized, were not to be underestimated. They were not the strongest nor the fastest, but they were clever, resourceful, and fearless in ways that few others could understand. Kale descended from the platform, returning to his delegation. His chest heaved slightly from exertion, but his eyes burned with quiet triumph. Lieutenant Mira met him halfway, her smile wide. "You've done it, Kale. You've shown them what humans are capable of." Kale shook his head, still catching his breath. "I just did what I had to do." Humans don't give up. That's all, but the truth was more profound. He had shown that courage was not about fearlessness. It was about persistence in the face of fear. It was about using one's mind, heart, and spirit together to overcome the impossible. The princess descended from her platform, her gaze fixed on Kale. For the first time, she spoke not with mockery or challenge, but with acknowledgement. "Human," she said, her voice calm yet firm, "you have exceeded every expectation. You have shown a courage that is rare even among the stars. Your species has potential I had not believed possible. Kale's face flushed slightly. He did not expect praise from the princess. Yet the recognition mattered, not for himself but for all of humanity. Across the galaxy, humans had been underestimated, mocked, and dismissed. Today he had changed that perception. The other delegations began to murmur among themselves. Whispers of admiration, surprise, and respect spread through the ranks. The humans, once seen as small and weak, were now recognized as a species of remarkable courage and ingenuity. Princess Giara looked at him one last time. Her expression softened, a small, almost imperceptible smile forming on her lips. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "I have underestimated your species. But today, you have proven that courage can take many forms, and that even the smallest spark can ignite a galaxy." Kale felt a surge of pride, not for himself alone, but for humanity. This was only the beginning. The trials had tested skill, intellect, and bravery, but they had also revealed something more profound: the power of human spirit. As the trial grounds quieted and the other competitors withdrew, Kale stood tall, looking out over the swirling void. He knew the journey was far from over. Greater challenges awaited, and the galaxy still held dangers unknown. But he had proven a truth that could not be denied. Humans, with their courage, ingenuity, and determination, could rise to meet any challenge, no matter how vast or impossible it seemed. For the first time, he felt the weight of history on his shoulders and the promise of the future. Humanity's courage had been seen, recognized, and respected, and the universe would never look at humans the same way again. The aftermath of the final trial left the halls of Elisera buzzing with excitement and quiet disbelief. The alien delegations, who had once viewed humans with polite skepticism, now whispered in hushed tones about the human warrior who had conquered what many of them had failed to do. Kale walked through the floating corridors with his delegation, his steps steady but his mind racing. The trials had ended, but the consequences of his success were only beginning to unfold. Princess Ciara observed from her chamber above the central platform. Her amber eyes, which had often flicked with amusement and subtle disdain, now glowed with something new: respect, curiosity, and a hint of fascination. Kale had done more than survive. He had demonstrated human courage in a way that no one could ignore. "Prepare for the Council of Recognition," her assistant announced. "The human warrior will meet with the council to discuss the outcome." Kale paused at the announcement, feeling the weight of expectation settle upon his shoulders. This was no longer just about trials or personal achievement. This was about representation, showing humanity's true potential to the galaxy. He straightened his posture and reminded himself of what had brought him here: ingenuity, determination, and courage. Those qualities had carried him this far, and would continue to guide him. The council chamber was unlike anything Kale had seen. It was a vast circular room, floating high above the palace grounds, with seats arranged in concentric rings around a central platform. Holographic displays of the trials rotated above the chamber, highlighting the paths competitors had taken, the obstacles they had overcome, and the failures of many. The air buzzed with energy as delegates from countless worlds settled into their places, their eyes fixed on the human warrior who had defied expectations. Princess Giara welcomed Kale to the central platform. "You have faced every challenge we set before you," she said, her voice clear and commanding. "You have not only survived, but you have excelled where others faltered. Now the council will hear from you. Tell us, human, what makes your species worthy of recognition among the stars?" Kale took a deep breath. He could feel the weight of every human life behind him, the legacy of his species and the doubts they had faced for generations. "We are not the strongest," he began, "nor the fastest, nor the most technologically advanced. But we do not give up. We face challenges that seem impossible and we adapt. We work together. We think, we feel, and we persist. That is what makes humanity worthy of recognition. Not arrogance. Not power, but heart, courage, and determination." The chamber was silent for a moment, as if the words themselves had settled into the minds of every delegate. Then one by one murmurs began, some questioning, some surprised, and some admiring. Kale's statement had reached beyond simple bravado. It carried the truth of human spirit, something intangible yet undeniable. The council deliberated for hours, reviewing the simulations, analyzing Kale's decisions, and considering the significance of his achievements. Every delegate recognized that the trials had been fair, but none had expected a human to succeed so completely. Finally, Princess Yara addressed the chamber once more. The human warrior has demonstrated qualities that many species would envy: intelligence, courage, and the ability to adapt under pressure. We have judged fairly, yet this warrior has surpassed expectations. The Council recognizes humanity as a species capable of great achievement, worthy of alliance and respect among the stars. A wave of astonishment spread through the room. Kale felt a mixture of relief and pride, though he kept his expression calm. Recognition was only the first step. Respect from the galaxy would open doors, yes, but it would also bring responsibility. Humans had now been noticed, and with notice came expectation. After the council meeting, Kyle returned to the palace gardens to reflect. Floating blooms glimmered with energy, and pools reflected the colors of 3 suns, painting the world in hues of gold, violet, and sapphire. Lieutenant Mira joined him, her expression thoughtful. "You've done more than survive the trials, Kale," she said. "You've shown the galaxy what humans are capable of, but this is only the beginning. Others will test us now, not through simulations, but in ways that may challenge every lesson we've learned." Kale nodded, gazing at the shimmering horizon. "I know, but we've already proven that we can rise to challenges. That's what makes humans different. We do not give up, no matter the odds." In the following days, the human delegation worked closely with the Elysians and other alien species, sharing knowledge, discussing strategies, and learning from each other. Kale found himself at the center of attention, a living symbol of human ingenuity and courage. Alien delegates asked him questions not about technology or weaponry, but about his approach to challenges, his decision-making, and his ability to remain calm under pressure. Even the princess took a personal interest. She observed him quietly at times, noting how he thought and acted. For the first time, she saw humanity not as a curiosity or a target of amusement, but as a species capable of innovation and resilience beyond her expectations. One evening, as the suns dipped below the horizon, Kyle stood with the princess on a balcony overlooking the palace grounds. The city below glowed with energy, a living organism of light and motion. "You surprised me, human," she said softly, her voice carrying over the balcony. "I expected arrogance, recklessness, perhaps even failure, but you showed me courage of a kind I had never known. It is quiet, steadfast, and extraordinary." Kale looked at her, surprised by the sincerity in her tone. "Thank you, princess. But I did not do it for recognition. I did it because giving up was never an option. Humans, we simply keep moving forward." The princess nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "Perhaps I have underestimated the human spirit for too long. Your courage has changed my perspective. I will remember this, and so will others. The galaxy will never see humans the same way again." As they spoke, reports began arriving from distant star systems. Aliens who had once dismissed humans as weak or primitive were now reconsidering. Alliances were proposed, trade opportunities expanded, and communication channels opened in ways that had never happened before. Kale realized that his actions in the trials had ripple effects far beyond Elysia. Humanity's courage was now recognized, respected, and even admired. But Kale also understood that recognition was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders, mysteries, and challenges. Some would test humans with curiosity, others with rivalry, and some with dangers they could not yet imagine. The responsibility to represent humanity wisely weighed on him. Yet he felt ready. Humans had endured countless trials on their home planet, survived impossible odds, and thrived through ingenuity and determination. They were prepared for this new stage in the galaxy. The days that followed were filled with lessons, planning, and preparation. Kale trained alongside alien warriors, learning new techniques while sharing his own strategies. He found that collaboration, not competition, allowed humans to shine in ways they never had before. The aliens' respect grew with each demonstration of intelligence and courage, solidifying humanity's reputation as a species not to be underestimated. Princess Yara continued to observe Kyle closely. She began to consult him on strategies, on diplomatic approaches, and on how humans could contribute to broader alliances. Slowly, she began to include humans in decisions that had previously been exclusive to Elysians and their closest allies. Kale realized that human courage was not just physical. It was also the courage to engage, to lead and to inspire others toward collaboration. One morning, as Kale walked through the gardens, he paused to watch the sunlight glint off the crystalline towers. Mira joined him, smiling. "You've done more than survive the trials, Kale. You've opened doors for our people. You've shown them that courage, intelligence, and heart are more important than strength alone." Kale smiled, feeling a sense of quiet pride. "It feels good, but I know the journey isn't over. Humans have been noticed. Now it's up to us to prove that we deserve the trust and respect we've earned." Mira nodded. "And I have no doubt that we will. Humans do not give up, Kale. You've shown them that. The galaxy has seen it, and now the real adventure begins." The princess watched from her balcony as Kale and Mira spoke. She felt a sense of anticipation, realizing that humans would change the galaxy in ways even she could not predict. What had begun as mockery had transformed into admiration, and a new era of understanding and respect was emerging. Kyle, standing beneath the glowing sky, felt the weight of that responsibility, but also the thrill of possibility. Humanity had proven itself in the trials, and now the real work began. Building alliances, exploring the unknown, and showing that courage, intelligence, and heart could reshape the stars. In that moment, Kale understood something profound. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again. Their courage was no longer a quiet rumor or a tale told in whispers. It was now a shining reality, recognized by allies and potential rivals alike. And with that recognition came opportunity, adventure, and the chance to leave a lasting mark on the universe. The trials had ended, but the journey of humanity in the galaxy had only just begun. And Kale, the human warrior who had proven the extraordinary power of human courage, was ready to lead the way. Months had passed since Kale had completed the final trial on Elizera. The galaxy seemed quieter, but it was a calm that hinted at change rather than rest. Humans, once underestimated and often dismissed, were now seen in a new light. Their courage, ingenuity, and determination had earned them recognition and respect that few could ignore. Kale walked through the bustling corridors of the Elisirian Palace, no longer a mere competitor but a symbol of human achievement. The palace had become a hub of interstellar diplomacy. Delegates from countless species moved through the halls discussing trade, alliances, and joint exploration projects. The air buzzed with curiosity and excitement. Humans were invited to contribute, to share their knowledge, and to learn from civilizations older and more advanced than their own. Kale, who had once felt small and out of place, now felt a quiet sense of responsibility. Princess Jara met him in one of the palace gardens. The floating blooms glimmered softly in the sunlight, reflecting the energy of the three suns above. "Kale," she said, her tone measured but sincere. "Your actions have changed the way the galaxy views your species. You have inspired many, and you have opened doors that were previously closed. That is no small achievement." Kale nodded, humbled. "Thank you, Princess. But the real work is just beginning. Recognition is one thing, but trust and respect, those must be earned every day." Ciara studied him thoughtfully. "Indeed, and I believe humans are ready for that responsibility. You have shown courage, intelligence, and heart, qualities that are rare even among the stars." The day was filled with meetings, planning sessions, and discussions about joint missions. Kale found himself speaking alongside Elisirian strategists, sharing insights on problem-solving, adaptation, and teamwork. His approach, calm, logical, and courageous, captured the attention of many delegates. Unlike other species who relied on overwhelming power or technology, humans brought creativity and heart to every challenge. During one session, an alien delegate expressed doubt about humans' ability to contribute meaningfully to interstellar exploration. Kale listened quietly, then responded with a calm confidence that surprised everyone. "Humans have survived harsh planets, extreme climates, and challenges that required ingenuity and courage. We adapt, we collaborate, and we do not give up. That is how we succeed. That is how we will succeed among the stars." The room fell silent. Then, slowly, nods of approval spread across the assembly. Humans were no longer seen as small or insignificant. They were recognized as problem solvers, innovators, and dependable allies. Kale realized that his courage had become more than personal achievement. It had become a bridge between species, a way for humanity to step confidently into the galaxy. Later, Kale walked through the palace gardens alone, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. The trials, the challenges, the skepticism of others, it had all led to this moment. He had proven human courage not with sheer strength or speed, but with determination, intelligence, and heart. Every step he had taken, every decision he had made, had contributed to a larger purpose, showing that humans could rise to challenges and inspire others to do the same. As he paused near a pool reflecting the swirling skies, he noticed a group of young Elysian students observing him quietly. Their eyes were wide with admiration. One of them stepped forward, shyly asking, "Human, how do you face fear and uncertainty so calmly?" Kale smiled, crouching slightly to meet the student's gaze. "Fear is natural. Everyone feels it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's what you do in spite of it. Humans survive and thrive because we face the unknown with determination. We think carefully and we act with heart. You can do the same." The student's eyes lit up and the group nodded eagerly. Kyle realized in that moment that the legacy of human courage was already spreading, not just across species but across generations. It was no longer only about survival, it was about inspiring others to rise to challenges, to think, and to act with integrity. News from distant star systems began arriving regularly. Reports of humans excelling in unexpected ways reached Elysia, negotiating peace between rival species, solving technical challenges on exploration missions, and responding creatively to situations where brute strength or conventional strategies had failed. Humanity's reputation was transforming from curiosity to admiration. Kale's actions in the trials had set the tone for an era of respect and opportunity. One evening, as the three suns set in perfect alignment, Kale stood with Princess Xiara overlooking the glowing city below. The air was calm, filled with the soft hum of energy from the palace structures. "Kale," she said, her voice softer than usual, "you have done more than I imagined. You have not only proven human courage, you have reminded all of us that heart and determination are as powerful as any technology or ability." Kyle shook his head humbly. "It wasn't just me. Humans have always faced impossible odds. We survive, adapt, and rise. Today the galaxy sees that. Tomorrow, we will show them what else we can do." Xiara's expression softened. "And I believe you will. You are more than a warrior. You are a symbol of hope, courage, and potential. Humanity will leave a mark on the galaxy that others will not soon forget." Over the next weeks, Kale worked closely with alien scientists, strategists, and explorers. The humans contributed innovative ideas that bridged gaps between technology and intuition, strategy and empathy. Kale's leadership style, quiet, focused, and courageous, earned him respect not only from his own species but from allies across the galaxy. One day, during a council meeting discussing a joint exploration mission to a distant star system, Kale proposed an approach that combined human creativity with alien technology. "We can predict the energy storms," he said, "but we cannot control them. Instead, we adapt our path to the storm. By combining technology and ingenuity, we reduce risk while maximizing opportunity." The council considered his plan, then approved it unanimously. It was a small victory in the grand scheme of galactic politics, but for Kale, it was proof that humans could contribute meaningfully, not through brute strength, but through courage, intelligence, and collaboration. As months turned into years, Kale witnessed the long-term effects of his actions. Humanity's reputation grew steadily, and humans became known across star systems as reliable allies, brave explorers, and problem solvers capable of facing the unknown with determination and heart. The galaxy had begun to change, not through conquest or dominance, but through the quiet, steadfast courage of one species willing to prove themselves in the face of doubt. In a quiet moment, Kale returned to the balcony where he had first spoken with Princess Xiara. The suns were setting, painting the sky with deep violet and gold. "Kyle," she said, joining him, "I underestimated your species. I judged courage by strength, speed, and skill. But I have learned that courage comes in many forms. Humans, you have a way of inspiring others simply by facing the impossible and refusing to give up." Kyle smiled, looking out at the stars beginning to shimmer in the twilight. "That's all any of us can do, face the challenges, adapt, and never give up. That's human courage. That's our legacy." Princess Xiara nodded, her gaze thoughtful. "And it is a legacy that will endure, not just in your time, but for generations to come. You have changed perceptions, forged alliances, and opened doors that were once closed. Humanity's mark on the galaxy has begun. Kale felt a sense of quiet fulfillment. The trials had tested his courage, his mind, and his spirit. They had challenged him to rise above doubt and fear, and in doing so, he had helped change the way the galaxy saw his species. But he also knew that the journey was ongoing. Humanity's true potential had only begun to reveal itself, and the future held challenges far greater than any trial simulation. As the first stars of the night appeared above Elisera, Kale reflected on the path that had brought him here. From a young human warrior underestimated and mocked to a symbol of courage, inspiration, and human potential. The trials had been only the beginning. Now the real adventure awaited, the chance to explore, learn, collaborate, and leave a lasting mark on the universe. And Kale knew one undeniable truth. Humanity would continue to rise, to face the impossible, and to inspire the galaxy with their courage, heart, and determination. The story of the human warrior who proved the alien princess wrong was no longer just a tale of one individual. It had become the foundation of humanity's enduring legacy among the stars. As he looked out over the glowing city and the swirling sky above, Kale smiled. The galaxy was vast, filled with challenges yet to come, but he had seen what humans could do. They could face fear, embrace uncertainty, and achieve what others deemed impossible. In that moment, Kale realized that the legacy of human courage was not only about proving others wrong, it was about proving to themselves that they could rise to any challenge. And with that courage guiding them, humanity would shine brightly among the stars for generations to come.